Welcome to the first installment of my NFL 2024 team preview show, I guess. I don't know, I guess it's a show. Pretty much just going to be quick and easy. Going to talk about every team in the NFL, talk about, what big moves they made, what will make or break their season, how far they could go, how far they could fall. Without further ado, let's get started. The first division, we have the NFC West. So the first team we're going to talk about, we got the Arizona Cardinals, and we're just going in alphabetical order. But Arizona Cardinals, they are a team that is rising. They are still in their rebuild phase, but they're getting there. They made some good moves this offseason. They're still building off of Kyler Murray. They've got a tight end breakout, Trey McBride. He had a great season last season. On defense, they're still rocking with Budda Baker at safety. That's their cornerstone that they've kept since Jonathan Gannon took over. So when he took over last year, he kind of cleaned house. He got rid of a lot of people, but Budda Baker has stayed. And this offseason, the biggest move clearly was drafting Marvin Harrison Jr. And he is touted by many as like the best wide receiver prospect in a while. Like he's like, this guy's supposed to be like the guy, like one of the best receivers as soon as he steps on an NFL field. His father, Marvin Harrison Sr., also an NFL wide receiver, and he was pretty good. And to talk about what can go wrong or right for this team, I think obviously one of the big question marks is how good is Marvin Harrison Jr. actually going to be? If he is one of the best receivers, the moment he steps on the field, then incredible. I mean, if he can really be that good, then this offense should be really fun to watch next year. They also drafted Trey Benson, a running back. So James Conner, who has been very reliable for them these past few years, his replacement might be right behind him. So, there's some juice on this offense. So that'll be exciting to watch. I think one of the other things that is going to make or break this team is the defense. To put it lightly, there's not that much like A1 talent on this defense. It's like they have some players, but I think a lot of their success last year was due to coaching. Depending on how good this defense actually will play next year, if we can get more of what we got last year, because they added more talent this year through the draft and free agency. So if Jonathan Gannon can keep cooking, I actually think this team is like a sneaky playoff option, like 7th seed max. Like they're not getting higher than that, but if everything actually goes right, like perfectly, and like that's like a maximum ceiling outcome, but I think they could get there. And then their floor, it's like, be like a bottom 5 team. There's like no expectations for them. If they get bottom 5, they get another pick next year, whatever. And the one takeaway I have from the Cardinals offseason is that people really like the sons of former athletes. They get lots of news coverage. See Marvin Harrison Jr., see Bronny James. If you like basketball, go check my basketball podcast, by the way. But anyways, moving on. The next team we have is the Los Angeles Rams. They are still a playoff team. They literally were a playoff team last year, even with some of the injuries that they were going throughout the season. The emergence of Puka Nacua has given this offense an incredible new weapon. Like, of course, they had Cooper Kupp, but now to have another guy that's really good at football next to him, it just makes this offense so good. And, of course, no need to really talk about it. Sean McVay, great coach, great play caller. And, I think a lot of people are expecting this team to make the playoffs. I think one of the more interesting moves they made this offseason, they drafted Blake Corum. So they have another running back behind Kyron Williams, who also had an incredible breakout season last year. They also drafted a couple defensive linemen. They've added more pieces on defense. And I think this defense overperformed last year, like with the Cardinals. I think the coaching played a part in how good this defense was last year. Even though the defensive coordinator for the Rams left to go coach for the Falcons, and they can get close to repeating what they did last year and also have more talent, then I think this team should definitely make the playoffs. To me, the only thing I'm concerned about, other than whether or not that defense is going to be able to play up to par of last year, I am concerned for Stafford's health. He is older. And, I'm obviously not going to predict injury. I don't wish that on anybody. It's just like he's getting up there. I think he's 36 or 37, and he did get injured last year. So I'm a little bit worried. I'm a little bit worried about that, but I think if everything goes to plan, this team could legitimately be like a dark horse Super Bowl winner. A lot of things would have to go right, but the team is good. The team is stacked. Like, I don't they have the quarterback, they obviously have the coach, they have the weapons. To me, it's just about, can Stafford stay healthy behind the O-line, which they have improved. I believe to me they've improved. Can Stafford stay healthy? And then how good can this defense be? They're going to go against some demons in the playoffs. So if everything bottoms out, Stafford gets hurt, the defense is terrible. It's like a bottom 10 team. But, hopefully we're not living in that world. Hopefully we are in the world where Stafford can just rip bombs to Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. Because that's the best timeline. My main takeaway from the Rams for just the past couple years is just, anything is possible if you just get that missing piece. McVay just needed a better quarterback. He was the missing piece. They got the missing piece, and now they're like perennial playoff team. Like every year that Stafford's been there, like cool. So, to all the NFL teams, if you're watching this for whatever reason, shoot your shot, do your thing. All right, so this next team, the reason that I'm actually starting with the NFC West, the San Francisco 49ers. So, obviously, if you're familiar with football, you know that the 49ers just lost the Super Bowl to the Kansas City Chiefs. But, this team, they've kept a lot of their pieces together. They still have all of their offensive weapons. They've added more defensive weapons. It's stacked. I mean, it's just super stacked. It's the reason they made the Super Bowl. And, they have a great coach. He's a great play caller. Kyle Shanahan. Shout out Kyle Shanahan. But this offense of Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Aiyuk, George Kittle, Trent Williams, their offensive linemen, which I will say is their only good not their only good offensive lineman, but this O-line isn't good, but Trent Williams is good. But anyways, the reason I'm starting with this team is because there's a whole lot of drama going around Brandon Aiyuk right now. And I can make a whole video about this saga of his cryptic tweets and cryptic behavior. But Brandon Aiyuk has requested a trade. And I was waiting to make these videos because if Brandon Aiyuk got traded, it would change my preview for whichever team he got traded to. So instead, I'm just going to talk about it now for this 49ers section. So if he stays, which I assume the 49ers are not going to trade him, then he is still their most valuable wide receiver to me because he has a different skill set than all the other star players on this 49ers offense. The rest of them are really good underneath. And, they can also do other stuff, but a lot of them make their money underneath on the short routes and yards after catch. Brandon Aiyuk actually beats man coverage. He actually goes deep and beats people one-on-one consistently. And they need that skill set, especially if they're trying to win a Super Bowl. So I don't expect him to get traded. If he does get traded, whichever team gets him is getting an alpha. They are getting a real wide receiver one, a guy that can be the guy for whichever quarterback it is. And then for the 49ers, if they do trade Aiyuk, they drafted Ricky Pearsall at the end of the first round. I would assume that he would slot into the Brandon Aiyuk role. I don't think he does the same things as Brandon Aiyuk. So I'm curious how that would even play out. This whole Brandon Aiyuk thing, I don't think he's getting traded. I don't think it makes sense for the 49ers. And Brandon Aiyuk has no leverage. So I'm not expecting anything to happen, but I did want to address this situation first before I go on to talk about whichever teams are rumored to maybe trade for him so that those videos aren't outdated whenever he gets traded. Just had to get that out of the way. But back to the 49ers. Like I said, I mentioned it briefly. The swing factor for this team is the O-line. Trent Williams is by far the best O-lineman on this team. We saw in the Super Bowl, this O-line got bullied by the Chiefs O-line or D-line. So if they can't step it up, I know they got some new people, but if they can't improve, they're gonna have some problems. That's really it. They're just gonna have some problems. Obviously, They still could have won the Super Bowl last year, and they still can win it next year. Bar injury, they're, I'm not going to say guaranteed, but it's very likely that they'll make the playoffs. They'll probably get at least to the second round. They're probably going to play against some like 7th or 6th seed or something if they don't already have a first round bye. There's not really a floor for this team because they're just a really good team. So, hey, this is a Super Bowl window, so we'll see if they can capitalize on it. The takeaway for this team: wide receivers, they're cryptic, they're extra, they're as advertised. Whenever anyone tells you that wide receivers are crazy, yeah, you take what you get with the wide receivers. Brenden Ayuk's a great talent. Deebo Samuel did a lot of the same stuff that Brenden Ayuk is doing now before he got his contract. So, hey, we'll see if something gets done. I assume it will. And, if he does get traded, I'll definitely talk about it. All right, and the last team in this division, actually my favorite one, I like a lot of the players on this team. I won't lie to you. The Seattle Seahawks. So the Seattle Seahawks, they are in a weird spot. Like they're, I think what most people would classify as a pretty good team. I don't think a lot of people actually have them projected to make the playoffs, but I really like this team. I think Geno Smith's resurgence has been awesome. DK Metcalf is still awesome. Tyler Lockett's still there. Jackson Smith and Jigba is a young but improving player. I think he will definitely take some steps forward this next season. I love both their running backs, Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. I think they're both awesome. You know me. I love running backs. You know what it is. I got Darren Sproles on the shirt. I love running backs. That's my favorite position. I think both of those guys are pretty awesome. To not go too in depth, I think they're just really fun players to watch. And I think, we'll get to see these offensive players shine more with their new offensive coordinator. Shane Waldron, their old one, he is in Chicago now. And I would say that people were pretty split on how much on who actually liked him as a play caller. Some people appreciated, his creative ideas and all that. Other people were like, this offense is too stacked talent-wise for the offense to be ranked this low. So the new offensive coordinator they have is from Washington. He is the same coach that led Michael Penix Jr., Rome Odunze, Jalen Polk, and Jalen McMillan to the national championship. This was an air raid offense, bomb it deep. And hey, DK Metcalf, Geno Smith, they're going to bomb it deep. Like, this is going to be fun. So I'm a big fan of that signing, that hiring. Also, Mike McDonald, new head coach. I think he was incredible as a defensive coordinator in Baltimore. So I'm really excited to see what he does now with this mostly young Seahawks defense. They drafted another D lineman. Devin Witherspoon is an awesome corner. He's one of my favorite corners in the league. He's young, but he has dog in him, which every corner needs, really. You can't be a good corner and not have dog in you. And there's some other fun young players on this defense. So I'm just excited to see what they can do because I'm actually a fan of both sides of coaching and talent for this team. And to me, this is actually a pretty underrated team. Like I can think if I was making a dark horse prediction for like a Super Bowl run, I think this is my pick. Like just straight up. Like I just think that if everything goes right, get a few lucky bounces, I think this legitimately could be like a deep playoff run team. The big problem, and I think is their swing factor, their O-line. Last year, when their O-line got injured like crazy, it looked terrible. Like the offense wasn't good. Geno Smith was struggling because he was under pressure the whole time, which, not his fault. And he did what he could, but whole O-line was in the medical tent. It was a disaster. They made some additions. Hopefully they stay healthier. If they can keep Geno Smith on his feet, then I think this team can go far. If not, I still think this is like a borderline playoff team. I think they're like an 8th seed or a 9th seed, like right outside the playoffs. To me, that's their floor because, like I said, this team is kind of stacked. My takeaway for the Seahawks, just, watching film, watching games helps you evaluate players. I feel like for a lot of the Seahawks players, there's criticisms about them that I feel like are pretty easily disproven by just watching them play. That's all I got for the NFC West. Leave a comment, tell me what you thought. If your favorite team is one of these 4 teams, Let me know what your expectations are. Tell me which other teams in the division, which players you're looking out for. And, hit subscribe for all the other divisions. I'm getting through all of them before the season starts. Stay tuned for that. Hit like. And then, thank you for watching. Peace out.